In solo leveling, Thomas orders Laura to send all their guys there and says he'll head there too. But then, Thomas gets curious and asks Laura how she managed to convince the Hunter Bureau. Laura responds, telling him that she told them if they don't find Hwang Dong-soo, then Thomas Andre and Sung Jinwoo may collide. At the Hunter Bureau, the place is in chaos as Adam urgently reports that all members of the Scavenger Guild are on the move. The deputy director asks if it's all 100 of them, and Adam confirms that all scheduled raids have just been canceled. Every hunter is moving right now. Realizing how big this is, the deputy director thinks to himself, if the entire Scavenger Guild is mobilized, that means Thomas Andre is behind this, and he asks just what exactly is going on. Meanwhile, inside an abandoned factory, a man looks at the beaten Jinho and asks Hwang Dong-soo if he's really sure this is okay. Hwang calmly explains that he's not planning on doing anything to Jinho. However, there's just one thing he wants to know. Thomas warned him not to touch Sung Jinwoo, but Hwang Dong-soo never planned on messing with Sung Jinwoo in the first place, because there's someone else who can give him the answers he needs. Hwang tells Jinho that if he honestly tells him what happened to his brother in that dungeon, he'll let him go without a scratch. There's just one thing Hwang wants to hear, that Sung Jinwoo killed his brother, and the moment he hears that, he's done with you, Jinho. Hwang Dong-soo tells Jinho to wake up and jabs him in the chest, causing him to cough up blood. Meanwhile, the dude with glasses notes how Jinho is pretty durable and guesses that Jinho is a tanker, adding that any normal human would have been dead by now with such a beating. Unsure why Jinho is being so stubborn, he calls him a naive-looking bastard and compliments his courage, but says stubbornness won't lead to forgiveness. At that moment, Hwang suddenly slams Jinho's head into the thick beam and gets closer to him, telling him to listen up since he doesn't want to kill him. Hwang then explains to Jinho that the guy who's smirking behind him is a pretty decent healer, and he's going to save Jinho whenever he is on the brink of death, which means that until Jinho tells Hwang what he wants to know, he'll be tortured there forever. And on top of that, they are in a factory that's been closed down for over 5 years, meaning there's nobody there to save Jinho no matter how much he screams. Hwang questions Jinho, does that make you want to talk a little? And Jinho, grasping for his breath, whispers off. This makes Hwang a little upset as he questions Jinho what he said, but Jinho slowly opens his bloody lips and suddenly raises his middle finger to Hwang as he tells him to fuck off. Angered by Jinho's action, Hwang swiftly smashes Jinho's head again. On his side, Ninja tells Hwang to be careful since they don't want to deal with murder for money, to which Hwang says that he'll be mindful of that. Asking if they should get started, one of his companions asks Hwang if he hasn't found out enough, but Hwang questions what they're talking about before telling them, with a bloodlust expression, that he's just only started. However, Hwang senses something and looks over at an orc standing weirdly at the entrance, taking off his jacket. Hwang questions if there is a dungeon break nearby or something, as the orc shivers in his place. The hunters find it peculiar as they think it's scared of Hwang. Hwang lunges at the shadow orc, saying that he doesn't have time to mess around, when suddenly a word is muttered. Exchange! At their apartment, Jinwoo's mother wonders what he's doing right now while watching TV with Jin-ah. Behind them, Beru speaks to her, saying that if there were anything his lord cannot withstand, nobody in the world would be safe from it. As they spot Jin-woo on the television, Beru is suddenly struck by an unusual feeling. He notes that this feeling, he's felt it once before. The king is enraged, Beru mutters. Meanwhile, as the Night Guild prepares for a raid, Yuntai gasps as he sees the guild leader's shadow fluctuate. This makes Jong-soo turn and question him. Yuntai, frightened, tells him that the shadow under his feet just shivered. However, Jong-soo dismisses it, reminding Yuntai how many times he had told him not to drink before a raid. Pleading with Jong-soo, Yuntai insists that it's not like that, and that he didn't have a single drop today. He insists that the shadows really started trembling, as if they're alive. But Jong-soo decides to let Yuntai take a break for the day. Meanwhile, back in America, many cars drive along the highway. Inside one of them, Thomas orders his driver to stop the car immediately. After sensing that it has already begun, he kicks the door off and jumps out of the car, telling his driver that he's going to go on ahead and to follow him as fast as they can. Thomas then leaps across the road, leaving cracks on the ground, as the agent guesses they're going to be flooded with damage compensation invoices again, and says Thomas should have just taken the car. Back Back in the abandoned factory, Hwang is struck by a powerful punch to the gut, shocking his members. Jinho smirks as Hwang Dong-soo spits out blood and is sent flying across the factory. Finally, the Shadow Monarch has arrived, standing furiously. Jin-woo makes Jinho drink the healing potion. But the system notifies him that he cannot use a healing potion to recover health points if the health points drop below 10%. He then questions the American hunters if any of them is a healer, and with a menacing aura, he demands them to heal Jinho. However, the hunter with glasses says that they don't understand Korean. Just then, Hwang recovers from Jinwoo's punch and tells Glasses that Jinwoo wants them to heal Jinho. He then asks Jinwoo if it's the first time they have met in person. But Jinwoo ignores him and again warns the American hunters that he wants Jinho healed. With an awkward grin, Glasses tells Jinwoo that he needs to convince his boss first. But his words are cut off as Jinwoo quickly grabs his head and slams it into a thick beam. Seeing this, Ninja is terrified as he shouts to Hwang Dong-soo that he didn't say the job was related to Sung Jin-woo. Jin-woo then turns to Ninja and asks if he can use healing magic. But as soon as Jin-woo hears that he can't, he flattens him to the ground, using ruler's authority. Hwang Dong-soo then steps closer and asks Jin-woo if he was the person who killed his brother Hwang Dong-suk. On the side, the weakened Jinho calls out to Jin-woo and warns him that Hwang Dong-soo is Hwang Dong-suk's younger brother, to which Jin-woo tells him not to talk anymore. Irritated, Hwang Dong-soo shouts at Jin-woo again, asking if he is the one who killed his brother and teammates. As the two step closer and face off, Jin-woo tells Hwang that he can go ask his brother himself. This irritates Hwang even more, and he swiftly lunges at Jin-woo. But Jin-woo easily dodges and counters with a powerful gut punch that causes Hwang Dong-soo to cough blood and fly through the air, crashing through the wall and landing on a massive pipe. As Hwang lies down, agonizing in pain, his gaze lifts to see Jin-woo standing above him. He screams and prepares to retaliate, but is quickly caught by the head and smashed into the pipe by Jin-woo. Jin-woo picks Hwang up by the head and repeatedly smashes it several times. Suddenly, Thomas Andre arrives, crashing down at the site and orders Jin-woo to stop. Thomas Andre calmly scolds Hwang and asks Jin-woo if Hwang is still alive. For now, Jin-woo says. Realizing Jin-woo can understand him, Thomas requests him to let Hwang go and says that if Jin-woo lets Hwang go, he'll let what happened slide. Jin-woo menacingly questions what will happen if he refuses as he grips Hwang Dong-soo's head. Thomas Andre then responds that it wouldn't be a request anymore. Jin-woo says, "Fine by me," as he tosses Hwang Dong-soo into the air. As Hwang flies upward into the sky, in his mind, this is exactly what he had planned. Knowing that Thomas won't have a choice but to interfere in this matter, urging him to hurry up and kill Sung Jin-woo in his stead. Thomas, now standing face-to-face with Jin-woo, asks if he perhaps knows him. However, Jin-woo responds that it doesn't matter who Thomas is. This surprises Thomas Andre, since Jin-woo knows who he is, yet he is still doing such things. Thomas Andre grew up in a poor immigrant family and had many enemies. To him, who seemed like he had nothing, he was granted one talent that left no choice but to name him as the best. Overwhelming violence. Violence with enough power to completely overwhelm others. Through a countless number of fights, he began to prove his gifted, innate ability. Since then, he had seen how his power could change those who showed animosity toward him. Strength, authority, wealth, violence. He used many existing powers of the world to reign over like a king. And when a new form of power emerged in this world, he took the opportunity to reign over as a true king. He destroyed those who got in his way. He kneeled those who looked down on him. He regarded violence as the true justice, and as such, from experience, he knew exactly how to deal with those who refused to obey him. As Thomas attacks Jin-woo, he deems him to blame for his own ignorance. Outside, the scavenger guild arrives at the factory, preparing for the incoming battle. Suddenly, they are hit by a wave of immense force hurled toward them, sending their car flying. As the dust settles, it was Thomas Andre shielding himself. The members step closer, worried for him, but he waves them off. Thomas Andre then glares fiercely into the distance as his guild members tell the others to get moving. Meanwhile, Jinwoo orders Igris to take Jinho to the nearest hospital and to use any means to make sure he gets treated. As Kaisel swiftly takes off, the whole scavenger guild stands behind Thomas Andre, now facing Jin-woo and his entire shadow army. Grinning excitedly, Thomas says that there are finally something of a worthy opponent, declaring that he couldn't care less about the Huang Dong-su matter anymore. He believes that there is only one way to redeem his damaged pride, and that is to kill that hunter Sung Jin-woo. Thomas Andre tells Jin-woo that it's not too late for him to admit his mistakes and back off. In return, he'll at least spare his life if he does so now and apologizes. However, Jin-woo just menacingly gestures him a divine middle finger. This angers Thomas Andre, who calls Jin-woo a bastard. He then charges up, ripping his clothes in the process, as he warns Jin-woo that he'll regret not having taken this last chance. At that moment, Thomas Andre's body sparks and is slowly engulfed by his immense aura. Meanwhile, the Scavenger Guild prepares, equipping their armor as they face Jin-woo's shadow army. As Jin-woo orders his shadows to advance, Thomas signals his comrades that they're coming. The battle begins as both armies advance toward each other. The Scavenger Guild charges forward and deploys their tankers' shields, forming a massive mana shield wall that blocks incoming assaults from the shadow army. Bursting through the shadows like a storm, Thomas Andre annihilates every shadow in his path. Noticing Tusk casting a spell, he quickly charges up and soars into the air, bursting through Tusk's head. Seeing that the Shadow Army doesn't stand a chance, he looks at the factory. Sensing Jin-woo's presence, Thomas crashes back down. His expression turns sour as he sees his members beaten up by Jin-woo's shadow soldiers. Seeing Jin-woo, Thomas Andre quickly lunges forward. However, Tank slides in front of him, blocking his path. Thomas angrily yells at Tank to move before swiping him away. He gazes back at Jin-woo, but he's nowhere to be seen. Suddenly, Jin-woo emerges from behind and stabs him at the rib. However, Jin-woo is shocked as the demon dagger can't penetrate Thomas's skin. Thomas then retaliates with a powerful punch, sending Jin-woo flying. Thomas Andre asks if Jin-woo is looking down on a nation-level hunter, as he charges in and surprises Jin-woo by using his psychokinesis to pull him down. He tells Jin-woo to feel the difference in their strengths and despair. But Jin-woo activates Ruler's authority on Thomas, rendering him unable to move. Thomas begins to question what's going on as Jin-woo plans on crushing him, feeling as if he's fixed in place. Thomas is shocked as Jin-woo chooses to attack even while being pulled in. Jin-woo then lands a hard hit on Thomas Andre, sending him rocketing through the air. At that moment, Thomas questions if he's bleeding before trying to get back on his feet. But Jin-woo doesn't give him any time and dashes in, mocking his previous statement, before bombarding Thomas with punches. Deciding to stop underestimating Jin-woo, Thomas activates his reinforcement skill. Meanwhile, as the Hunter Bureau arrives at the scene, the driver tells Adam that it's about time he explains what's going on. However, Adam refuses, saying that there's no time to be explaining everything at the moment. Sensing the eerie atmosphere, the driver presses again, asking Adam what's happening. Adam White explains that he might not be able to tell as a normal civilian, but if they go any further than this, they'll be risking their lives. At that moment, Sung Jin-woo thought, there are 4 humans who borrowed the ruler's strengths. Perhaps they are among the 5 who survived the Kamish raid. That is, they are 4 of the national-level hunters. And Thomas Andre was no exception. Jin-woo dashes toward him, but Thomas Andre raises his arms, aiming at Jin-woo. He smashes through the ground, breaking the whole damn place with the shotgun. Jin-woo manages to dodge the attack, but Thomas raises his hand and uses his skill, Capture. Seeing this, the hunters shout at their comrades to fall back and get away from Thomas Andre, as his massive black hole sucks in the shadow soldiers around him. Surprised by its immense strength, Jin-woo notes that he would have gotten sucked in if it weren't for Ruler's authority. Thomas then locks his gaze onto Jin-woo before blowing up the old factory. Jumping onto a beaten steel beam, Jin-woo looks down at Thomas. Thomas gazes back at him, declaring that he won't miss this time. But Jin-woo doesn't reply. He only gazes at Thomas Andre menacingly. Meanwhile, the Scavenger Guild rushes to carry out all the injured and get as far away from Thomas Andre as possible. A hunter glances over at Andre as he charges up, leaps off the ground, and flies toward Jin-woo, closing the distance and facing him. However, the Monarch counters, stomping on his face and lifting off into the sky. Thomas Andre, wanting to retaliate, uses his skill Capture to pull Jin-woo back down. But Jinwoo activates ruler's authority to pull Thomas instead and accelerate toward him. Seeing that Jinwoo is pulling him in and accelerating, Thomas questions if Jinwoo is planning on facing him head-on. Accepting the challenge, Thomas activates his reinforcement. A shockwave forms as their fists meet, creating a massive aftershock that shakes the entire place. However, Thomas Andre loses the clash, sending him flying through the warehouse. Jinwoo lands perfectly while Thomas bursts out from the rubble angrily screaming. Dashing forward, Thomas Andre throws Jinwoo a heavy punch. But Jinwoo dodges, and Thomas's attack shatters the ground with immense force. Jinwoo then swiftly grabs his horns and retaliates with a knee to the face, cracking his skull hard enough to make him forget who he is. As the battle continues, the Hunter Bureau arrives at the site. Aghast by the intensity of the situation, the agent tells Adam that it's dangerous, so he should really brace himself. As the two heavy hitters crash through the infrastructure, Adam questions what he's witnessing. The agent confirms that it's Thomas Andre. Urging Adam, the agent asks what they're going to do in this situation. Adam tells him they need to stop them from fighting, prompting the agent to ask, how are they supposed to do that? Seeing that Thomas Andre is getting beat up by Hunter Sung Jin-woo with Jotaro punches. Meanwhile, in Thomas Andre's mind, he questions how. How could a mage-type hunter produce such power and speed? He questions if he's going to lose. Calling it impossible and clouded by his ego, he gets ready to counter Jinwoo with his claw. However, Jinwoo blocks it and continues to beat him up, unrelenting. Thomas claims that his overwhelmingly oppressive violence is the only thing that makes him Thomas Andre. Boosted by ego, Thomas breaks loose, screaming his own name, telling Jinwoo that this is enough to take him down. At that moment, Jinwoo blitzes behind him, elbowing hard on the head, and reminds Thomas Andre that for him it doesn't matter who Thomas is, beating the shit out of Thomas Andre. Adam White shouts at Jinwoo, pleading with him to stop. However, Jinwoo doesn't listen and keeps hitting Thomas Andre with heavy punches to break through his armor. Every hit is a critical blow for Thomas Andre. As Jinwoo's punches become more intense, they reduce Thomas Andre's armor into ashes, making him agonize in pain. At that moment, Thomas mutters, "It's over," causing Jinwoo to stop. Thomas admits defeat while in a vegetable-like state. Watching the scene unfold, Adam is shocked in disbelief, seeing the great Thomas Andre reduced to such a state. Questioning how many hunters in the world could do such a thing. He asks if there are any who could in the first place, noting that once this news gets out, it will shake the world completely. Adam then orders the healer to treat Thomas quickly. But the healer responds that every single bone in Thomas's body has been broken, and the blood loss is severe too, so he won't be enough alone. He advises that it'll be better if everyone treats Thomas Andre together. As he heals Thomas, the healer comments that it's only because Thomas Andre is a nation-level hunter that he was able to last this long, adding that any other hunter would have died at least 10 times over from this amount of damage. Realizing that there were no casualties in the battle, Adam feels relieved, knowing the situation turned out as favorably as possible. Suddenly, an agent calls out to Adam, reporting that Hwang Dong-soo isn't breathing and his heart is not beating, and Jinwoo is nowhere to be found. Shifting the scene to Korea, Jinwoo sits at the edge of a building, saying that he used Shadow Exchange to swap locations with Baru. He then questions his new shadow beside him, saying, "It's been a while since you've been in Korea," and informs him that what he's looking at right now is Seoul. And as they speak, Baru is healing Jinho to the best of his abilities in America. The new shadow then calls out to his king, and Jinwoo questions him. The Knight Commander grade shadow is revealed and pleads for his king, Sung Jin-woo, to bestow him a name. Jinwoo offers the name Greed, since he died being greedy, and asks what he thinks. As Jinwoo calls him Hwang Dong-soo, Greed gratefully accepts the name and thanks his king, before being ordered by Jinwoo to put his head back on the ground, which he gladly complies with.